Dabo Swinney is finally back where he needs to be, and that's at the top of the Vegas odds board to win the ACC Championship. The defending ACC champion, the Clemson Tigers, represented the Atlantic Coast Conference in the college football playoff, as well as the SMU Mustangs, as they were a two-bid league last year. The Clemson Tigers were the 12 seed. They had to go on the road and face a very tough Texas Longhorn team, which, after rewatching that game, getting ready for the ACC preview, Cade Klubnik and the Clemson Tigers acquitted themselves very well in that game on the road at Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium in Austin, Texas, and ultimately coming up short and taking the first-round exit were both teams from the ACC. SMU, getting the 11 seed, had to go on the road to number 6 Penn State, and it was a very cold and raucous environment as the home field advantages in the early portion of the college football playoff bracket held true, as SMU got behind early, and the miscues on top of getting behind early let a very good Penn State team kind of run away with it and hide and get the victory in the opening round of the college football playoff after both of these teams played each other in the ACC Conference Championship game. Clemson coming out on top. Clemson, the preseason favorite to win the ACC once again, followed by Miami at plus 380, SMU at plus 850, and Louisville at plus 850. Georgia Tech at plus 1200, so 12 to 1 on Georgia Tech, and then a deep and sharp fall off down to Duke at 25 to 1, and the remainder of the board quite a few long shots as we look at the BetOnline.ag odds to win the ACC. We're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about a surprise team. I actually like two surprise teams in this conference. One team that everybody is very high on, that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of coming into this season. And then we'll talk about the championship game participants that I think will represent the ACC and ultimately who will come out on top for the ACC. My surprise teams look no further than Chapel Hill, North Carolina, as the North Carolina Tar Heels, led by Bill Belichick, the former head coach of the New England Patriots. He comes down to the college level, him and Michael Lombardi, to run the North Carolina Tar Heels football program, replacing Mack Brown after his second tenure at North Carolina ended. Bill Belichick comes in to take over. The roster, a lot of overhauling on the roster, 71 newcomers. And again, no one knows what to expect from the North Carolina Tar Heels. They do get a transfer in Gio Lopez. He comes over from South Alabama. He will be the likely quarterback one to start the season for Bill Belichick. I'm interested to see what Bill Belichick does on the defensive side of the football, how that impacts college offenses, or how he adjusts his game to the college landscape. Again, you have a lot more time in the NFL to prepare. You have a lot more time to game plan. You have a lot more time with the players in order to install game plans to potentially confuse opposing offenses. And so it'll be interesting to see what Bill Belichick and his son do on the defensive side of the football. I'm very excited for what is to come in Chapel Hill, and I'm very excited to see how Bill Belichick can put his fingerprints on the ACC race. North Carolina currently sitting at 40 to 1 to win the ACC, so a lot of value there for one of my surprise teams. My other surprise team is going to be the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Yes, it is a very popular surprise team to have in ACC play. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, no one can forget the 7 overtime affair that took place between Georgia Tech and Georgia late in the season last year. Haynes King returns at quarterback. Coach Brent Key, fresh off of a scrimmage between his players decided to let his team know that they are not that good. So sign me up for probably 9 to 10 wins for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I think they have an excellent opportunity. They get Clemson at home early in ACC play. That's an opportunity for Coach Brent Key and Haynes King to really upset the apple cart, so to speak, with Clemson being the preseason favorite at plus 105 to win the ACC. It'll be an opportunity that they'll have to face a Clemson team that, let's face it, is pretty loaded from top to bottom, and we'll dive into Clemson more here in just a little bit. My disappointing team is actually number 2 on the odds board to win the ACC, and that's the Miami Hurricanes. I've long since held the belief that Mario Cristobal is either snake bitten in second halves of games, or his teams just do not have the mental fortitude or the situational awareness to get close victories late. We saw that happen a couple of times last season. Very winnable ball games, just ultimately coming up short. And then the Carson Beck mystery, right? Carson Beck transfers over from Georgia. He will be the starting quarterback. He left Georgia after an arm injury to his elbow in the SEC title game against Texas. So Carson Beck heads over to Miami to replace Cam Ward, who went number 1 overall in the NFL draft. That offense has a lot of holes to get right, especially on the outside. Carson Beck, what kind of arm does he have? Could he be someone who ultimately returns to form? And again, remember, we were talking about Carson Beck potentially being a number 1 overall draft pick prior to last season. Unfortunately, he played with some receivers at Georgia who couldn't catch a cold, and once he started feeling a little bit of that pressure, it was very obvious that he was just struggling with the environment around him, ultimately suffering the injury in the SEC Championship game. I think Miami underwhelms against what the market thinks of them at plus 380, the clear second favorite to win the ACC. Again, the talent is there. The problem is, can they put it all together? Can Mario Cristobal get the results that are expected of his team to ultimately represent his team in the ACC championship game, potential college football playoff? But the 2 teams that I have in the ACC championship game is a rematch of last year. I think that Kevin Jennings and Rhett Lashley and the SMU Mustangs continue their winning ways. I think the learning experience last year of being in the college football playoff, having to go on the road, I think that's just, they were kind of playing with house money. No one expected them to be in the college football playoff. Rhett Lashley did an excellent job last year with the SMU Mustangs. I think they continue to build on that. Again, Kevin Jennings from South Oak Cliff High School is going to be the quarterback. He's going to put up big numbers in Rhett Lashley's offense, and an opportunity for SMU to move through their schedule with a chance to win a lot of games and get to the ACC championship game. And they are set to face, I think, probably the team that returns the most talent on both sides of the ball. There's an argument to be made that Clemson has 3 top 20 NFL draft picks on the defensive side of the football. They return Cade Klubnik, who is coming into his own. I think he has a chance to be a number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. If he plays well this year, he's definitely one of the Heisman contenders for the 2025 season. So they have probably the best wide receiver room coming back since the Trevor Lawrence era under Dabo Swinney. So a lot of things to like for Clemson, and ultimately my ACC champion will be, or I'm picking the Clemson Tigers to win the ACC over the SMU Mustangs. Very similar situation to what happened last year. I think just the been there, done that type situation for the Clemson Tigers, all that experience coming back. I think that's just a little too much for even the SMU Mustangs to handle. So I am going with Clemson over SMU in the ACC championship game, and for both teams to represent the league, and potentially a third bid by Georgia Tech to represent the league in the college football playoff in 2025.